And what do we see? Nice. Well, hello there. It's time to have some fun surfing around on Mualani. My approach for this video is actually going to be a little bit different than I normally do videos. Like, I want to show the many different teams, the methods of badness of making Mualani work. Most of them will be vape teams, to be clear, but I think she has enough different team variety that I'm very comfortable saying this is a very fun character. She has enough team variety that's interesting to think about. Her mechanics, I find her quite engaging to play. She's not the strongest carry in the game or anything, and you will probably see some of the teams I'm using suffer from. I wonder if there's a character that replaces some of the current units coming out soon. But regardless of that, let's just get into all the different teams I'm using, right? So I'm not going to focus on Abyss. I just want to show different teams working in different ways with this character, because I think there's a number of like different nuances to discuss in the context of the different ways you can play her with different characters. So this team, we'll get to this team later. I actually like this team a lot, but the first team I actually want to start with is a team that I was considering making a whole video on, and it's an unconventional team because we're doing Mualani and Yelan together. And the reason that's an unconventional combo is because Mualani, here, let me just, of course your burst is not up. Well, give me a second. There we go. So we activate Yelan's burst, and we go surf around on Mualani. When we're running into enemies, you can see Yelan's burst is not activating, right? It only activates when I go and click the normal attack button, then Yelan's ability will target like normal. So normally there's no synergy there, right? In this case though, because Mualani wants to vape, being able to make it so Yelan doesn't apply a lot of hydro can be advantageous. Although it definitely still can interfere with things because, you know, extra hydro means less ability to vape. And that will cause some problems in this team you're going to see, but that's because the focus of this team is a little bit different. Part of the goal with doing Mualani and Yelan together is that you can do double hydro. You get, you know, hydro resonance. Also, Yelan can allow for easier setups for VV by applying hydro herself. And then Yelan also, of course, when you have her burst active, gives a damage buff to the team. And then the last important thing is Yelan can be an energy battery so that you can try to more consistently burst on Mualani. Because a lot of Mualani's teams, she uses the solo hydro unit. And while Mualani's burst cost is not super expensive, she usually is not worth building extra ER when she's solo hydro to be able to burst every rotation. And I find that kind of lame because her highest like damage multiplier hit is actually her burst. Like if you're trying to maximize the big number you see from Mualani, it's her burst. Even though like more of her damage output comes from her skill, because if you vape all of these hits, then you can get more total damage than you get from your burst, and that's why you don't spec super heavily into ER. But in this instance, we are using double hydro, so it's much more feasible to actually be able to burst consistently, and the goal is to vape on this so we see a really, really big number, right? Like, I want to emphasize, this is a really big multiplier, and also she has a passive that adds additional damage to that multiplier. At level 8 here, we'll do about 110% of her HP scaling. So the other teammates I'm going to use in the team is Bennett, and Bennett is not here because of buffing. Obviously, Mualani and Yelan, they're both HP scalers. There's no benefit to the attack buff there. But he is a healer, and then more importantly, Bennett plus Kazuha can work really well. So I've done this in previous videos, but if you don't know about it, the basic gimmick here is we do Bennett, and then, oh, there we go. We do Kazuha, and even if there's no pyro on enemies, so like if they have hydro on them, you can use Kazuha's burst, and as long as you're standing in Bennett's buff, you will get a guaranteed pyro infusion on his ultimate, and that can be the pyro application you need to then vape on Mualani, right? That's the basic idea. Bennett is a healer. Bennett can be put on Fab actually, because we don't need a high base attack weapon, since we don't need to buff Mualani with attack. So we're just going to do an energy focus build, and we're going to put him on 4-piece instructors instead. There we go. So 4-piece instructors, in case you didn't know, when you trigger a reaction with the equipping character, you will get a team EM buff of 120 for 8 seconds. So it's a relatively short uptime buff, but the idea with this team is that we're going to be able to get 2 vapes on Mualani. We're going to vape her first burst, and we're going to vape 1 instance of her full stack normal attack. And then any damage we get after that will probably not get a vape. So the idea is to sacrifice some sustained damage output in order for this team to line up a little bit better with the short uptime buffs from VV and Bennett on instructors, and for it to be, you know, easy, consistent to play, and really, really big damage number Mualani team. Of any of the teams in this video, this team should get the most damage. I should also technically put Yelan, since she's not doing much burst damage, maybe put her on a skill damage build instead. but it's whatever. Like I'm not gonna optimize my Yelan's damage for this team when she's doing plenty of damage already because of my constellations. Oh, just in case I didn't show the full build for Mualani here, this is what it looks like. I also really like this team for Overworld, because, you know, hey, you have a healer, you got Kazuha, which is nice for Overworld, and you got 2 movement abilities on characters. Like, it's quite nice. C2 Kazuha can make a big difference in this team. It doesn't always make a difference. I do have, you know, a little bit higher investment on things that is obviously increasing my damage, but there's also definitely room to grow with, like, having the new artifacts on Mualani, yada yada. Alright, so we basically start with bursts. We do E on Q on Bennett, do a couple normal attacks. Don't forget to switch to Kazuha. And do that, and do this. Bam! Nice 600k. And then a nice 200k. I feel like I might have ran out of one of my buffs there, because I did that a little bit non-ideally. Let's see if I can do this properly and land all my abilities. That, do this. Alright, do this. And oh, there it is. 650k, nice. Bam, there we go. That had buffs up properly. And then we do this, we funnel some to Mualani. Alright, and then we ult again. Rinse and repeat. Blam. I should not have done that quite like that. I think we're fine though. And we definitely needed the healing from... okay. I didn't crit, really? I have 92% crit in crit there. That was one full rotation and you saw like I got my energy back properly. That is probably the biggest damage number I have gotten in any team I've made in this game. I normally don't do like nuke setups against bosses, but my record is 850,000. I believe that was set with Yelan against the Wanderer boss. Let's go see how big I can get against the Wanderer boss with Mualani. Alright, hopefully I do this setup properly. Crit damage buff, hydro buff. Alright, Yelan. This. And what do we see? Nice. There we go. There's the 1 million damage barrier broken with a, you know, not super highly invested Mualani. That honestly, I think, illustrates like the fun aspect of playing this team. It's really just satisfying to see a big number, and this character is probably some of the easiest really big numbers you can see of any characters in the game. This is kind of what she's made to do, but a lot of these teams can be pretty clunky and have uptime issues on her buff. This is just a team I really enjoy with her, just because, you know, monkey brain, big number fun. The next team I want to mention is using Kazuha again with Mualani, because, you know, Vivi and Kazuha buff, good, great. There is actually a cool synergy with Xinyan and Kazuha that you can use with Mualani. The only problem I have with this team is I'm actually not sure what the ideal last slot teammate is, other than just, you know, a Hydro teammate enabling Hydro Resonance and reducing Mualani ER needs. But in this team, you don't use Yelan's Burst, because Yelan's Burst would screw with things. You just, like, use Yelan's skill to battery energy. Like, that's the only reason Yelan would be here. When I've been testing this team, even Candace's Hydro application, she does Hydro when you switch to different party members, that screws up the ability of Kazuha to be able to work properly with Xinyan in this team. I don't, like, this is weird, because, like, this is the team, and then the last teammate is just, like, I don't know who makes sense for the last teammate. Like, maybe Zhongli, but I tested with Kachina in this team as the last slot, but even Kachina's Geo actually screws up this Kazuha Xinyan synergy. So anyway, let me show you how it works without any fourth teammate first. So let's do it one more time. So we do Xinyan E, Kazuha, it guarantees Pyro, which gets rid of the Hydro, but he swirls Hydro at the same time. I didn't actually need to do that. And then, bam, nice 500k, right? And you're dead, right? Like, it works really well. But it's weird because it's like a 3-unit team. As soon as I add a fourth member to this team that isn't just a Hydro unit that's like using their skill once to apply the initial Hydro instead of doing what I was doing there with a Mualani normal attack, the team breaks. So it's a very fast rotating team. But like basically every team I tested that does more than just, you know, one instance of Hydra application for the initial setup just screws with the balance of this setup, unless I'm misunderstanding something about the combo. So it's very interesting. as a synergy that you might not have known about, and I wanted to mention it for that, but I can't say I'm going to play this specific team very often. So now we're going to go play a whole bunch of different variations of burning teams. And the reason I like burning teams is because, well, they're a lot easier to play. Well, okay, I shouldn't say they're easier to play necessarily. They trade the upside of like VV teams is you get way bigger damage on Mualani personally. We're not going to see, 600,000 damage if we're not doing VV. Burning teams have higher potential to do other things. I'm mostly going to be relying on Dia in conjunction with other Dendro units to be able to apply the pyro that Mualani needs to vape. I'm not gonna exhaustively test every single Dendro unit. I'm not gonna exhaustively test the other options for off-field pyro, like Toma, for example, is an option, but I just prefer Dia because what we're gonna do with Dia is we're gonna use an instructor's. Ooh, I gotta fix her build. There we go. Instructor's build on Dia, and we're also using R5 Forest Regalia, which, by the way, I had to do a 2-hour R&R request to unlock the crafting recipe for this, and then I used 5 billets just to do this. But yeah, anyways, I'll show this in a little bit, but this 120 EM buff plus 120 EM from 4-piece instructors is a pretty significant buff for Mualani's damage. Dia can also provide some interruption resistance and a little bit of additional tankiness for the team, and I quite enjoy that. Dia is a fairly low investment required unit that can work really, really well with Mualani in conjunction with some Dendro. Now, Nahida, since, a lot of people have Nahida, is probably the most compelling option for this team in the 4 slot. Or sorry, not as the 4 slot, just as your Dendro unit. And I recommend Prototype Amber and Nahida in this team because if you're doing Dia's ability to tank some damage plus Nahida Prototype Amber healing, in my experience, I am more than comfortable with that team as far as like that can keep me alive. Nahida without any Electro is not going to do that much damage because, a lot of her damage comes from the spread reaction. Like, her raw multiplier damage is not very significant. But, interestingly, you can put Electro in the team, and it won't F with your burning uptime enough to prevent your Mualani from vaping. So I'm going to put Kuki in here. Alright, that, and we'll do this, and we'll do Dia, and then we get a leaf over here, so we'll go grab that, and bam, nice 250k. And blam, and then we will burst. We have pyro, 300k, right? Like, you can see the team works. There is some weirdness when you bring in Electro, wherein you will miss vaporizes because like the Electro will consume pyro aura at an awkward time. So depending on like what the enemy is doing, it might screw up the timing of things in a way that makes bringing Electro into the team a little bit awkward. I don't even have it going right now, so it's obviously not going to cause a problem here. But you get the point, right? Sometimes the timing of things lines up just in a slightly awkward way. I do also want to show the option of using someone like Yai in this team. I think Fischl would probably be too much Electro, most likely. It can work, but it might also have more of a chance of interfering. Alright, let's start with E. And Nahida. Alright. And make sure we get the leaf here. Oh, I forgot to grab the leaf, or I missed the leaf. The leaf can still be awkward if it's not obvious. But alright, wait, what? That I didn't see the damage number, but I think that actually did hit. Okay. I suppose I did let him just straight laser Nahi in the face. Yeah, I do think Yai is a little bit awkward with this team because of her field time requirements. But I just wanted to demonstrate as an additional method of being able to like increase the team's damage, since Kuki herself wasn't doing much damage there. Now, since we're doing burning things though, I do have Emily, and I really, really like Emily Dia Mualani as a core. The only problem is, again, just Dia as a defensive utility is a bit fragile. So it's like, okay, who can we add as defensive utility that won't screw up the burning combo? Now, I have had some success with putting in Siegewing, because like a benefit of Siegewing not actually applying that much Hydro is she won't interfere that much with the burning and vaping on Mualani. But sometimes the timing can be a little bit weird and she still can interfere, so it's kind of goofy. I have really enjoyed actually Candice in the last slot of this team, but again, it's a problem of not actually having much defensive utility. Point being is I don't actually think the ideal last teammate exists for this team yet. I did like Sucrose with this team, not because you're not swirling Hydro in this team. Normally with animal units, of course, you want to swirl the element, Hydro in this case, to be able to get a lot bigger damage numbers. Like, it's why like Kazuha can make her do so much more damage. But when you're doing burning in order to enable Mualani to vape, there's not really a easy way to get good uptime on VV to actually make it that worthwhile. Like, you might be able to get one instance of a vaped hit in by trying to swirl Hydra at the start of a rotation. The reason Sucrose is just here is just because she's a very easy short fuel time EM buffer with her passive, right? You can build Sucrose for EM and she'll buff the team. And notably, she is a Catalyst user, so you can switch to Prototype Amber and make her a healer again to add in some extra defensive utility. But who I actually want to show in this team is Kachina. The idea with Kachina is pretty simple, and that's that the new artifact set, the Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City, is a big ol' word soup. So if you have Hydro, we use Kachina's E. You know, she triggers Crystallize, then this triggers the 4-piece bonus of this set, which gives total of 40% Hydro damage bonus with a pretty good uptime. Yeah, 40% Hydro bonus is pretty good for Mualani. Now, defensive-wise, you can build Kachina for EM, right? Do 4-piece of this set on full EM, and the end result of that is, like, you can have Crystallized Shields that shield for about 5,000 HP, which is quite significant. I have a relatively unbuilt, not level 90 Kachina, so the Crystallized Shields are doing nothing. But I want to show this team working as far as damage output goes. Anyway, so what we do... Oh, that was weird. Okay, all we gotta do, start with Hydro on the enemy. We'll cast that. I gotta press her E because I don't have her C2 yet. We'll start with your burst. And then, one interesting thing, by the way, is Dia jumps back after you do double E, so she helps you avoid accidentally picking up the leap with the wrong character. And blam. And then that, I think, okay, I could have timed that a little bit better. Oops. Should show the Sucrose variant of this team quick. So let's do that. Do a Sucrose, and then what? I don't know why my keyboard just didn't take inputs for like 3 years straight there, but you know, you can see we can get similar damage as we get with Kachina using Sucrose buff over here. And wow, amazing. Also, I just realized some of the problems I've been having as far as like rotations not feeling normal is because the stupid Phlogiston and Outland affects you in combat, so I was surfing longer than I was normally able to, but it's fine. You saw the general functioning of the teams. I think for most players, like Sucrose on a Prototype Amber build would be a smarter bet, which obviously she's not on right now, in order to, you know, give a good balance of defensive utility for this team. Even if you're not getting VV buff, it is, I think, a compelling choice. And the last thing we need to talk about for burning teams is you can do Furina with Mualani, but from the bit of testing I've found so far, you do kind of need Xiangling in conjunction with a Dendro unit to be able to do this. And this means a solo Pyro Xiangling, and a solo Pyro Xiangling has very, very high ER needs, like much higher than this. And this is an example of a team that I think really smells of, I wonder if the Pyro Archon would be an easier slot and replacement for Xiangling in this team. But to be clear, I have no idea what the Pyro Archon kit looks like, right? But my point is, like, Xiangling kind of sucks to build for solo Pyro for Mualani, but this is a potentially very, very strong team. I'm going to put Xiangling on R5 Fav. Important for Xiangling to actually burst consistently, right? So we're gonna see with about 200 ER, you know, on Fav, how close is Xiangling to getting her burst back every rotation, right? So do you. Alright, and do you. Alright, and oh, you automatically went in that state, so whatever, and blam. Nice 250k. Blam. Blam. Right, like, it's pretty compelling, but you can see Xiangling is not quite back energy-wise. Of course, if I trigger Fab again, funnel some particles to Fab, she's actually not that far off on a Fab build. So 4-piece Instructor Xiangling is definitely doable, but hard is what I would say. The Dendro application from Baiju is also not very high, such that you might have some issues with burning uptime. If you don't have good burning uptime in conjunction with Xiangling's Pyro application, you might have times where, like, Furina, with her weird variable Hydro application, she steals a vape, and then you don't get a vape on Mualani. It's not really the end of the world if that happens, though, because Furina vaping is still usually a meaningful amount of damage, and, you know, Mualani with Furina's damage bonus, even if she's not vaping, can still be a meaningful amount of damage as well, right? So this is a compelling team option. There's not many off-field Pyro players in the game, and you need a lot of off-field Pyro to try to ensure you get vapes pretty consistently in conjunction with Furina, but it works better than you might expect. And I think that's actually the last of the vaporized teams I wanted to show with Mualani. There's definitely other things you can do, as I mentioned, with different combinations of off-field pyro. The fact of the matter is, like, Mualani doesn't have very high Hydra application, right? She's very much meant to be a high damage multiplier, low amount of application Hydra unit. It's very possible you don't have some of the units available to you that could make vaporized Mualani work. And there is definitely an issue with many of her vaporized teams where I felt like, I think future characters will make this character stronger. And with that in mind, I think it is worth exploring a little bit the potential for non-vaporized teams with her. From my testing thus far, the main thing I can conclude is that she kind of is stuck to Furina as far as her non-vaporized teams go. And the reason for that is because, like, you know, double Hydro good for buffing her. If we're not doing Vaporize, we want to buff her in other ways. Double Hydro good. Furina gives damage bonus, great. You could do teammates like Yelan with her, you would think, except for I showed you earlier, when you're surfing on her, you're not triggering Yelan burst, right? So you're not getting much damage draw from Yelan. Xingqiu doesn't work, right? Which basically gives you the option of doing mono Hydro with the likes of Jean. In the last slot for this team, because of the fact that Yelan doesn't really work, I actually really like Candace. Candace on my 4-piece emblem build will get some damage contribution, but more importantly, she's just here to mostly just, you know, buff Mualani a little bit. And I find this interesting because normally mono Hydra is kind of pushed towards, you know, doing Furina, Yelan, Kazuha, and then Kokumi on field. And I find that pretty boring. This is a little bit more interesting because it's a more unconventional mono Hydra team, right? And I'm not the biggest fan of mono Hydra teams in general, but nonetheless, I do think they are worth considering as an option for making Mualani work. All right, so let's start with Furina. Alright, we'll do... Actually, no, Candace... Yeah, no, sorry. Just like, who do I do? I don't know. My brain is just failing. Where are you? Oh my god. Oh, that was annoying because the stupid Natlan thing going on. But hey, look at that. 200k damage, right? And then we get some 150k there. Slam. And then we're using Phlogiston, so technically we should restart a rotation there. Yeah, right. Like, that's a lot of damage, right? It's not really that surprising. Mono Hydro works. Go figure. I just think it's cool that this is a mono Hydro team that gives, you know, a reason to use Candace for her synergy with another unit. And you can make Candace work in vape teams with Mualani as well. There is the option to make this a non-mono Hydro team by doing something like putting in the one, the only, the fish. Of course, Fischl, you know, if you get, you know, Hydro and Electro going, Furina can buff Fischl, and then Jean can do VV. And if you do want to do mono Hydro with Kazuha, the main question is, who do you do for a healer? And quite frankly, that's actually, I think, Xingqiu. And not many people pull Xingqiu because people think she's bad. And I do not think Xingqiu is a bad character. Xingqiu just suffers from her most relevant utility, tends to be with Furina. And by the way, my Furina is definitely powered down for this team. Like she has like she has 250 ER in a triple Hydro team. That's obviously silly. And there we go, nice. And blam. Right, that's pretty decent. Obviously, this mono Hydra team works, but it's also for limited 5-star characters. I definitely like the other mono Hydra team more. It's lower investment and still very fun. Feels pretty good to play. Oh, I didn't actually change my artifacts for Mualani in these mono Hydra teams. Obviously, this 2-piece EM focus build is not ideal. With Furina, notably, you can change to 4-piece Marshall's Hunters, and this will perform very, very similarly to 4-piece of the new set for Mualani. But keep that in mind that you can definitely get more damage than you were seeing from Mualani there by switching her to a better artifact set that you might already have with Furina. If you want to see me messing around with a bunch more teams in depth, check out this live stream on stream. For several hours, I tested a whole bunch of different teams. Now, I do have one last team that I want to try because I think Mualani has one potential fun aspect, and this is circling back to the beginning where, you know, Mualani's burst multipliers are highest damage hit in her kit, and that's really fun because you can see big number. But notably, you could potentially put her into a team wherein instead of, you know, on-fielding her, doing her surfing Sharky Surf, you could instead play her as a short field time burst DPS unit. So you get pyro on enemies, switch to Mualani, press her Q, get a big damage number, press her E to get a little bit of energy, and then swap off to another unit in favor of spending on-field time with a different on-fielder. Like I do think Mualani has some weird potential as a quick swap burst DPS unit. I don't know. I'm gonna actually put her on a 4-piece emblem build. I haven't tested this yet. and we're going to use her in a very unconventional team that I'm definitely not going to recommend this team that you're going to see, but I think it's a fun way to conceive of using a character, since technically she can have some front-loaded damage output with very low field time requirements if you build her the right way. And I think that's an interesting option for her that shows that she can be a bit more versatile versus just building her in a team that is focused on buffing her as much as possible, right? 4-piece emblem, what do we look like? We have 170 ER, 94 crit. So I lost a little bit of crit damage, but not too much was lost. Yeah, I don't know. This is a weird build. But we're going to use Raiden, and the idea with Raiden is that Raiden can burst, right? So we're, instead of using field time with Mualani, we're doing field time with Raiden, just because that's fun. And then Raiden will give some burst damage bonus from her E, which is cool. For the other teammates, because we want some pyro going on, I'm actually going to do Emily and Bennett. And I'm going to switch Bennett back to his normal build. My Raiden is on a weird build. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. I'll probably make a video about my weird hybrid build on Raiden again in the future. But the general idea here is to have synergy with Raiden and Dendro together in conjunction with, you know, Bennett buff. We should get some decent Raiden damage, and burst DPS Mualani and Emily damage should be decent as well if we can keep decent burning uptime. Notably, I have C6 Bennett, so I'll do some like normal attacks on Raiden to be able to keep up burning, hopefully for Emily to keep her damage out. But it's going to be weird. I don't think I'm going to recommend this, but it's a weird, odd concept, and it's exactly the kind of thing I like messing around with in the game. I think with this team, that shouldn't really be a problem. So we're going to do Bennett. We're doing Bennett buff, and then we're going to do your alt first, and then we'll do you. And blam, nice 200k, and we may as well get one stack. Alright, do that. We'll wait for him to come down. Restart burning, and blam, nice 100k. I probably need to work on optimizing Bennett's uptime there a little bit, but that was not bad at all. And Mualani does have her burst back. I thought she didn't for a second. I'm going to try this one more time because, I don't know, I think this team is very interesting, right? Let's try doing this first to try to maximize ult up. Oh, no, okay. You butthole. Right, there's some awkwardness with this enemy, but there's some optimization to do here, and as far as, like, maximizing Bennett uptime with Raiden in particular, relative to, like, the value of using Bennett ult to buff Emily's ult and whatnot here. Yeah, this is just another team that I wanted to mention because, like, it's a really unconventional way of probably conceiving of using Mualani that most people wouldn't really consider, and I think it's very fun. And blam, nice 100k again, right? The damage is clearly pretty dang good. Is it the perfectly optimal kind of team? Not necessarily. I'm not someone who cares about doing optimal things in Genshin. I care about messing around with characters in different ways to try utilizing characters' kits in ways that are just like enabling fun new playstyles, right? So yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what team is your favorite, and I don't know, maybe I can revisit some of these teams in a full dedicated video. I'm enjoying Mualani a lot right now, and her animations are great. She's great for exploration. So yeah, I don't know. I think they kind of nailed the balance and design of this character. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and like, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. This is the kind of video I really like to make the most, not stupid videos where I criticize MiHoYo, because I'd rather just, you know, actually have fun in the game. Crazy idea.